Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm so excited to be with you here today. We've got a very exciting conversation ahead, and we are going to get into AI face. I don't know if you guys know what this is out there, but we're going to unpack it. It's very relevant to 2026. You know, I'm here for all people, but particularly the protection and reaching of our young humans that are bombarded with all things social media. So this is very relevant. And if you know me from my high school days, this is kind of funny. I've interviewed surgeons before. I used to joke in high school that I was going to marry a plastic surgeon to look young forever, which this was before housewives and everything. So I think about my young self and think about how crazy that is to say, but universe has a sense of humor. So here I am many years later having a somewhat similar conversation, but to disrupt it on the other end. So before we jump in, let's give a quick thank you to our sponsors, Colorado Confish Swim School, swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So go waterproof your family today. And our very favorite, Plantiva, products you can trust, delivering results you can feel. Please go check them out at plantiva.com. They're amazing. And as we've been talking about on some of these other podcasts, I will be speaking at the Fit Expo, hosting a biohacking panel on August 29th. I'll have a code and whatnot coming soon, but official announcement happening now. Join me August 29th at the Fit Expo. Without further ado, I want to introduce the Dr. Ruslan to TNT. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Do you want to say your full name? I didn't even want to botch it, but do you go by Dr. Ruslan?
Yeah, that Ruslan. So yeah,
Ruslan. Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. So I just go by Dr. Ruslan. They used to be Dr. Z, but then Dr. Z gets confusing. So Dr. Ruslan, it's unique. It's me. That's the easiest for most people.
I love it so much. So I got your bio, and like I said, we were talking about AI face. I'm going to read his bio and get into that, but then we're going to unpack things around what is AI dysmorphia, what does that look like in practice, a surgeon's role in saying no, how to tell if your desired result is achievable, and what looking like yourself actually means, which could probably be a podcast in itself. But let's go through your bio first, because I want the people to know how established you are. Dr. Russlan is a board-certified facial plastic surgeon and founder of Z Face Plastic Surgery. He specializes exclusively in facial surgery with a focus on primary and revision rhinoplasty, ethnic rhinoplasty, teenage rhinoplasty, and complex corrective cases. Known for his meticulous technique and artist's eye, Dr. Russlan believes advanced surgical science with an artistic approach to facial harmony and structure. His boutique practice emphasizes comprehensive, educational-driven consultations and ethical patient care, attracting patients globally who seek natural, long-lasting results that preserve individuality. This is why I want to have this conversation. Before we get into all that, I want to know about you as a kiddo. I think who we are is designed and put in us as young humans very early on. It's in the stars. So tell me about you as a young person.
Sure. And I get this asked frequently, how did I even get into this? What inspired me? I've always just been drawn to the sciences, but I've always been drawn to how do things work, as well as the arts. And this is a combination of everything. I still remember one of the first things I took apart was a blender and figured out how it worked. And it's always just fascinated me to take things apart and then put them together. Art has always been a big thing for me, sculpting, painting. And as time went on, my mother always encouraged the medical field. That's what she's always loved. She was a nurse. And I said, okay, yeah, maybe. I've always loved sports as well. It was in high school when I joined the EMTs, so emergency medical technicians, where I got to ride in an ambulance. I actually went through a 6-month course while in high school. And I thought, wow, I actually really like this. I enjoy the medical aspect of helping people. I just like the medicine of it. As time went on through undergrad, I went into pre-medical major. And with pre-med, I got the opportunity. I was selected to go into Hershey Medical Center, where I followed around a lot of doctors. And I thought, wow, I like medicine. I like working with my hands. So surgery makes sense for me. And as far as surgery goes, plastics has always been the one where you can actually do the artistic part of things. And plastic surgery is less like sculpting, but more like architecture, especially when you're talking about the face, because you are doing something that has a scientific background, but it's not just straightforward. Every case is a
Mhm.
little bit different, and you get to apply the artistic part. That's actually where plastic surgery came from. Plasticity means the ability to mold and shape and change. So we adapt to whatever's happening. And so it was just this kind of gradual kind of funneling of medicine, surgery meets the artistic, meets the architectural component of things, and it all came together, especially in facial plastics, because there's so many complicated things. Like you were saying, the nose is about 50 to 60% of my practice, especially revision cases. The most difficult things in all of plastic surgery is the nose. Most surgeons won't even touch it for that reason. But also, obviously, facelifts, blepharoplasty, brow lifts, all this stuff, super complicated. And that's how it all comes together.
Wow. Yeah, it is. It's wild to think how much pressure there is to perform and execute, regardless if it's like you're paying or give you money back, or like in a normal business transaction, you're not happy, you can take it back. This is someone's face, and like there's so much pressure within it. Were you an athlete by chance? Like, how did you like build up the ability to manage this pressure?
So it's funny. Yes, I've always loved all sports. I played hockey, and it's funny. I told my mother and father that I'm going to be a hockey player. They said, "You know what? Why don't you focus on fixing their faces instead of being the hockey player on the other end?" Sports definitely had a lot to do with it. I always encourage sports. Encourage my kids to go into sports. I think that it does help. It was really just gradual over the years. You train yourself to slowly acclimate to whatever is happening.
Yeah. Well, and I could not agree more. I think life skills through sports are so huge, and I was so fortunate to have that, especially as a young female, and developing those inner skills and that confidence and whatnot. And then on the flip side, like I began this with like my family, my parents had surgeries, and we were all athletes. We've all had ACL surgery and all that, but also cosmetic things. So I grew up around like this very juxtaposition. Again, universe sets us up very early before we even know to deal with it. And so I was around like plastic surgery and all kinds of things, and it was never really like a conversation of like you're changing stuff to be different. It was like you're changing things to be better, or honestly to fix cosmetic injuries that were so bad from sports or things like that. But at what point in the game were you, I know you're good at like the science and the technique and the art, but when did you introduce the conversation of like the internal? Like if we're going to fix the outside, that's fine, but like what are we doing with the inside?
That came much later. That came from practice. Nobody teaches you any of that during residency. So remember, medical training is a long process. First, you have to do all the prerequisites in undergrad, then you go through 4 years of medical school, then you get into residency. That's 5 years. Although you're a doctor, you're operating every year more and more. You're getting deeper and deeper into the field, but nobody really teaches you this part of things. So getting into it, hearing what patients are saying, you have to really understand not just what they're saying, but read between the lines, see how surgery affects them. And one thing I always tell my patients, and this has evolved over time, is my job is to do things where they change objectively, right?
Mhm.
Objective changes, something you can see. But really, I feel my goal is to make objective changes that result in a subjective change. So if I feel that this physical change is not going to lead to an improved subjective where the patient is, I could change their nose exactly the way they want to, I can lift their face, but if that's not going to lead to a happier them, then what did we really accomplish? We
Mhm.
changed something and we got no results. So that's something I really watch out for. And I never want to do the wrong thing by the patient because I want to have that. For me, it's not just the result that I see. For me, it's that result that I feel from the patient, that excitement, that smile where they tell me, yes, thank you for doing this. This was the right choice. This was the right surgery. And you did it the way that we discussed.
Amen. Because these are like, permanent results. Like these are situations. It's not like you buy a sweater and take it back. And I think any business, particularly any entrepreneur, knows you want a satisfied customer, and not everybody's a customer. And sometimes it's hard to walk away from the dollar, especially when you're starting out. I know you're extremely established, but it's hard to tell people no to some vision they have if it's not realistic, or like you said, like if you know the internal is not going to match the external, no matter what you do. Do you have any good words for doctors out there that maybe your spine be like this, but like how do you say no to someone that's so convinced on what they want?
That's a great point. Yes, I'm established now, but I've actually done this from the very beginning. And when we started, my office staff was like, well, you can't just keep saying no to people. We need patience.
Yeah.
But I would rather say no and do the surgery that really, again, gives me that happy patient at the end. So how to say no, there's many different ways, but as you're having that conversation, I think it's important to be candid and
Mhm.
give them realistic expectation. Like you said, this is a business and some really treat it like a business. Yeah, let's just book everybody. And it's a very different business model. It's not the business model that I want. It's not the business model that is going to make me happy. I want to have a business that's successful, but I also want to have a business that brings me joy and pleasure. It is not just a business, it is also my passion. It is something that I do and I identify as. So, in saying no to patients, I would feel them out. And as the conversation progresses, I would tell them, depending on what I feel, listen, I think I can do this for you, but even if we fall into this range, I don't think it's going to lead, like I said, to that happier you. I don't think this is the source of your dissatisfaction. You need to first not love how you look. Not You don't have to love that your jowls are drooped or your eyes are drooped or your nose is maybe not exactly how you want it, but you have to at least feel comfortable. Then those changes that we make are just going to exponentially improve how you feel. And that's not to say some people are very self-conscious about certain things and we make these changes and wow, it boosts their self-confidence. They dress differently, they walk different. But those patients at baseline are generally happier. They just have this one thing that's bothering. And I'm very honest.
Yeah.
So if I don't feel that that's going to happen, I'm sorry, we're just not the right match. Or if I feel that the results that they want are outside the boundaries of what I feel comfortable with, over the years, I've gained a lot of experience in knowing what I think is going to look good, what is going to sustain. I want the results to be sustainable over long periods of time. So many of these surgeries that patients come in and ask, it's actually easier for me to do that. It would be a quicker, simple surgery, but then my name is on that surgery.
Yeah.
So when they're out there, I don't want that to represent how I do things. No offense to them, that's maybe what they want, and that's totally fine. But some get upset about it. What are you going to do? I would rather them get upset with me, pushing them away and not doing their surgery than actually doing it and either getting bad feedback or having them upset that I didn't do it exactly the way that they wanted it.
Absolutely. It's so wild. And I know you're in Miami, which is like there's so many beautiful humans. I've done a ton with fitness influencers in Hollywood, and the bar is getting higher and higher. And it is hard to keep up. I wish my humans, particularly my young women, didn't want to keep up. But now we're inserting social media. And a lot of these humans working firsthand with them are some of the most insecure humans I've ever met in my life. God bless them. But I almost don't blame them because like they're amongst just quote unquote greatness and beauty all day, every day, and they're getting fed a certain standard all the time, which is not realistic. And now we're introducing AI, which is absolutely not realistic. So
Yeah.
tell me about AI dysmorphia and how are you addressing that and bringing people back down to earth?
Yeah. It's actually not very different. It's just the next step in what has been happening for decades.
Yeah.
Initially, you would hear people complaining about how Victoria's Secret and Cosmo would put these airbrushed photos of, perfect models, and people would see those and think that, oh, wow, they're perfect. I should be that way. But at least then you thought, okay, it's only those few. Well,
Mhm.
the general public is fine. Then came the next step, social media. And people are going to post the best angle, the best lighting. They're going to have makeup. I mean, there's tutorials on how to stand to make yourself look different. And I really salute the influencers that would show they're in great shape, but they would stand one way and another way to show that, no, this is not reality. Yet we're still constantly bombarded more with the perfect. So now you think it's not just the models, it's everybody else is perfect. Everyone has this perfect life because they're getting that selective picture
Mhm.
of those people's lives. Not just how they look, but their lives. This next step is now people are sending me photos of, oh, AI told me I should look like
Oh
this.
my God.
And that just brings it to another level because people do post their pictures with AI airbrushing, and it's not reality because AI changes things outside the boundaries of what is humanly possible. There was a really great, it was a funny video on social media where this girl is doing all this makeup and looks really ridiculous. And then he puts up a phone and through the filter, she looks incredible. And goes, no, you're not supposed to look at me in real life. You're only supposed to look at me through the phone, through the filter, because that's when they look good.
Wow.
And we see that all the time. I get patients that come in, especially giant lips, where I joke I could rest a pencil on their lip and it looks not that great in real life, but I see their pictures and you're like, wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of that. And so what AI is doing is it's changing how light is forming on the face. It totally airbrushes the pores away. You can't have, so when we see somebody, let's back up to that. When we see someone, what we're seeing is how light bounces off their faces. So areas of prominence bounce off light more, areas that are more retruded, a little bit of shadowing, and we see that contrast and subtleties all throughout the face. We also see pigment changes, we see pores, we see irregularities. And that's all normal. Sure, our desire is to have smoother contours, less wrinkles, but what AI is doing, it's completely eliminating them. And it's changing the way that light bounces off the face in ways that wouldn't even be naturally possible, or would require someone to have such a facial shape that in real life it would look ridiculous, or you would only need one certain angle to look that way. So that's really the biggest issue there.
Yeah. Wow. So even as a parent, like, you take your doctor hat off for a moment. How are you handling this conversation with your kiddos that they're going to be experiencing a reality that we didn't even experience growing up, and dealing with tools and pressures that we didn't grow up with? Like, because I'm actually here. If you want to change something, go do it. If you want more muscle, go bit in the gym. You want to change something in your body, go do it. But again, that internal piece has to be in there. How do you start this conversation early for a parent listening? Of how do we facilitate honest conversation, tell the truth, but keep a balanced perspective for all people, but particularly our young humans?
Yeah, my kids are still small. My son is 10 years old. My daughter is still 6. There are definitely conversations I'm going to have, but I do have these conversations with these, especially girls. I mean, there's some guys also, these absolutely gorgeous, beautiful girls from ages 15 to 30. And they're coming in and they want to do these little things because they're starting to see them. Some things, totally fine. A rhinoplasty where appropriate, not a big deal. A chin implant, maybe a little bit of cheek filler, a little bit of augmentation here and there, but they're going to the next level with it. And the conversation I have with them, and as I sit down, I say, first of all, you're beautiful and you have to recognize that. And they really are. I'm not just saying it. If I don't think it, I'm just not going to say it. But they really are. And it's a shame when I say, wow, listen, you're already beautiful. You have these great features. I could tell they just kind of do this like, oh, you're just saying it. And I'm like, no, I'm not just saying it. Appreciate the great features that you have. Now, look, if we're going to do these things that you're asking me for, they're not going to enhance your appearance that much. And versus the downside to them, say having too much filler or starting filler too soon. Sure, if someone has really flat cheeks and you can pop a little filler, that's not a big deal, as long as you're not going overboard. I just don't want to see them get on that kind of slippery slope where they do one thing and then another and then another, because it's so easy. Wow, I look good with some cheeks. That means I'm going to look better with more cheek.
Yeah.
No. So as practitioners, as the people providing these services, I think it's our responsibility to say no. Unfortunately, like you said, as business owners, most people don't say no, but it is important to say no and do the right thing by the patient. So how do you have the conversation with your own kids? I think kids are going to have a hard time listening to a parent, because to parents, kids are always beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? As a parent, you're never going to tell your kid, do this or that. But I do think you should be honest. Like, if somebody does want a rhinoplasty because their nose is bulbous, you talk them through it. Make sure that their confidence is there, that they're not doing it just to gain the confidence, that it's for the right reasons. Do the consultations, but don't let them go down that slippery slope. And just explain to them that these things that you're seeing, they're not real. Compare them to the people that you know. If everybody online is so beautiful and the whole world is beautiful, like 90% of the world is amazingly gorgeous online.
Yeah.
How about the people that you know? Do they really look like that? It doesn't match up.
Right. Well, I think you said go to Walmart, go in real life, and just and number one, get off social media. I'm really quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but how do you handle the parents? Because nowadays, like God bless, I don't have children. I have 3 dogs, but I've coached my entire life. I've worked with tons of young humans, and it's different, like you said, not being their parent, but parents I feel like have a harder and harder job every day because they don't know about social media. They don't want to say no. They want to be friends. It's a really weird balance, but how do you educate the parents, like when they're in there and the parents saying yes and you want to say no? Like, is there something you can do before then, or like parents that they can practice before their kids in a situation like that?
I think it all comes down to education.
Yeah.
Everything can be explained logically. So when they come in, and most of the time when they come in, it's not that they've done the research before. Sometimes they have, sometimes they haven't. I have very long conversations with all of them. It's not about just, oh, we're going to do this, no
Yeah.
problem. It's, okay, what are we trying to do? Why are we trying to accomplish it? That's the main thing that parents should be looking for in a consultation if they're going. Why? Let's talk about it. Are we exploring it? Are these changes legitimate? A lot of parents will say, well, I brought her in or I brought him in. They're beautiful. They don't need anything, but I brought them in. So see what you say. And sometimes they almost look at me like, tell them no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to tell them no if there is something that's legitimate, because I do see the positive impact that it's had hundreds and hundreds of these teenagers where it's really kind of brought them out of their shell. So I do see where that benefit is, but it's having an honest conversation. Like I mentioned before, sitting down, why, what are the changes? Let's look at the images. Let's talk about what's within our realistic grasp. What is it going to do for you? What is this change going to do for you as a person? And that's where all these things come out. But it's a conversation. Parents are definitely an important part. Anyone under the age of 20, we tell them, that's great. You might be on your own, but really try to have a parent present.
Yeah. Where are these kids getting this budget for the ones that don't have their parents involved? I mean, are they taking out loans, or like, are these, I know you're in Miami. I mean, real question, where is this? How are people funding this?
Yeah. And, our prices are also on the higher end. Some the parents pay,
Yeah.
but we've had some teenagers that I have been so impressed with. They are so incredibly responsible. It's amazing. They're more responsible than some adults. We had this one guy, he's 19 years old. He's in college. He spent, I think, 2 years researching rhinoplasty and 3 or 4 years saving up money with
Wow.
various jobs. So he saved up. He knew how much realistically a rhinoplasty would cost. He saved up for many years. He did a lot of research and he finally came to us. He actually never really disclosed it to anyone around the family because they're very traditional. It was his decision. He went with a nose that's very still masculine and he's super happy. We recently had another girl. She saved up for many, many years, working since I think she was 14. She's always saved up. I'm so incredibly proud of them when I hear that. I think
Yeah.
it's just a really incredible thing where they can afford that themselves. And some do get loans.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm here for it. I think if it matters that much to you, you're going to spend your life savings to it. And I'm big on price point psychology. Like, the more you invest, the more it'll be meaningful to you. So it is a big decision. So I don't think it's the worst thing. And I am like you. I'm proud of our young humans that have an idea and commit to it with that balance. Do you partner with like any mental health professionals or anything like that? Like, talk to my partner before you do this, or this mental health, consultant or counselor? Or is that a piece of the puzzle at all?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it is an important part, and there are some where I do advise it, but that's a very difficult road to cross. I have a colleague who, as a blanket, recommends it for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they partner with anyone specific, but they tell them, please get a psychological evaluation. Most patients, though, are going to be very offended by that.
Yeah.
So it's a sticky line to cross. Usually, if I sense that there is some resistance on that end, I'm by no means a psychologist, but I've learned to pick up certain things going back to what I said. I want a happy subjective. I'll say, I don't feel comfortable pursuing this with you right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that these are the things that maybe you need to work through. I sometimes will suggest talk through it, think about it, talk to others about it, professionals, where you get into a better headspace where this surgery is going to be much more meaningful to you. So I describe exactly what I told you to them. You just have to be very careful with it.
Good for you. I think that's great. And that's great that someone else did that. But I absolutely hear that balance. Like, you need a psychological evaluation. It's like, all right, well, frick you. I don't, I'm not even here for that. It's like when I get an MRI, I'm like, oh, all this other stuff's damaged. I'm like, no, I don't need to hear all that. I just need to know what we're talking about. Word of the wise, don't get an MRI unless you want to really know all the things that are wrong with you. But, that's great. And I hope that this plants a seed for parents or anyone out there seeking, changes in themselves. Again, I'm here for that. There is just many steps to the process, and these are permanent changes. So you want to be smart in what you do, just like you'd approach taking on a job or anything else, or even ACL surgery. I interviewed, I think, 3 different doctors before, we made thankfully my family are good brand ambassadors. We've tried them all, but it's things you need to ask questions around. If someone's sitting there and they're thinking like, I want to do this, I want to change this, what are some first steps before they make that big move that you would suggest to someone considering major plastic surgery changes?
Yeah. We meet and we have these consultations that are at minimum 30 minutes. So I have a very long conversation. But if I'm the first person that they're consulting with, and you just mentioned this, I actually tell them that's great. I'm happy that you're confident with me, but I will feel more, and this is counterintuitive as a business person, but I will feel more comfortable if you go to at least 2 other, not just to any other, 2 other qualified, famous, popular, that which doesn't always mean everything, surgeons, and at least you have something to compare. Otherwise, you're marrying your high school sweetheart. You're marrying your first person you ever dated.
Yeah.
So go on 3 dates, then you can decide. And yeah, your first date might be amazing and you're really in touch with it, but at least know what you're comparing to. And now I am more confident that you went somewhere and what I told you resonated with you, so we have a better match. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice. Someone once commented, well, every time you do a consultation with a well-qualified surgeon, it costs money. Yes, these consultations, a few hundreds of dollars, they're nothing compared to the overall cost of the rhinoplasty.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cost for a good rhinoplasty or a good facelift or a good blepharoplasty, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So these few $100s, they're well worth the investment. You'll at least get some perspective. You'll at least get some education out of it. So that's important. And researching things online is great, but you have to use caution.
Yeah.
There are many things that people come in with, preconceived notions. I spend probably the first half of my consultation dismissing a lot of these myths because, I heard this, I heard that. Doesn't really apply to you, not exactly how it works, because now it's all marketing. Marketing is going to try to funnel and push you into booking. The goal is not, this is not just that type of business. This is the type of business where you're, again, dealing with real humans. You're dealing with their faces. You're dealing with something really important and dear to them. So I think education is probably the best thing. So overall, multiple consultations, research all the things. And when you do consultations, compare, ask the second surgeon what the first surgeon said, and then the third surgeon, and get a consensus.
Amen. I think that's great. And honestly, in this day and age, the upside of social media is influencing goes both ways. If it's good and they preach it, then that's great. If it's not, they say the same thing. And I consult being in marketing. And this is kind of why we started the podcast, start telling the truth, because health and wellness is wild. And these are billion-dollar industries for a reason. You got to advocate for yourself and do your homework and, listen to people on social media, hear the honest reviews, and then go see for yourself and get a good tap, even on your own intuition, your energy on the human that you're talking with. Because like you said, it's a very big decision. And hundreds of dollars for some really incredible intel is very affordable if you're thousands of dollars into the wrong decision. Can you give us some baseline of what is the average price for a rhinoplasty or a facelift, or just give us some quick numbers if someone's thinking about it?
Sure. So, they're going to range depending on location, depending on the surgeon. For us, we start at $16,000 for a primary rhinoplasty that goes to around $21,000. And then a revision, you're talking about $27,000, $30,000, $31,000, $32,000. So a revision is going to be a lot more. So you try to get it right on the first one, so that you don't need a revision. Facelifts, we're starting at around $40,000.
Okay.
You can, and this is this is a good quality deep plane facelift, which we're talking about from the eye down to the neck. If you want to add in a brow lift, so this part here is the brow lift, you're looking at another about 12, 15. Sometimes when you bundle them, it's a little bit less. Some of these facial rejuvenation surgeries, it's the face, it's the brow, including the eyes, another 5 here, another 6 there, a lip lift, 75 to 9. So facial rejuvenation goes really deep, and it's very much what is it that you need that is going to give you that result. It's not just simply, it's just the facelift. It's the facelift. Some need fat grafting, some need facial peel with a CO2 laser, a lip lift, a brow lift, upper eyes, lower eyes. So you're looking at a lot, and this is where you see in the news people go, it's a $300,000 facelift. It's not just the facelift, it's the fat grafting, it's all of this stuff. It's surgical center fees, it's anesthesia fees. 300 is on the very higher end, of course. Just a couple of years ago, 100,000 was the big talking point. And that started off more like in New York and LA, was the $100,000 facelift. Again, it wasn't that the facelift itself is that, it's the combination of procedures.
Yeah. Dude, that's great. I mean, or you could just get a new G-Wagon, maybe not with all fully loaded, but really good tint and skip all of this. So I'm just kidding. I mean, being on the camera, being on the mic, even at 45, I'm very conscious of not, being hard on myself and comparing. On the flip side, there's definitely stuff I want to do. I think that my high school self knew. So I really love that you insert a very intentional conversation prior to any cutting, bring in that mental health, and are very transparent. I know Denver is far different than Miami, although we're getting close on some things as far as culture, which is great, but it's tough. We've got an ever-changing world and expectations, AI, all these things are ever evolving. So I really appreciate humans and leaders like you getting on the mic and facilitating some of this transparency, because I think you nailed it best. Education and conversation are like the biggest things. At this point of the game, you've done a lot, but what is success to you?
Success is feeling fulfillment in what I do. It's that I get to run my business and feel satisfied at the end of the day. That, like I said, I get to operate on patients who really appreciate and give me that feedback, where that's what I love that. Like, actually, I just had a patient, we did her facelift, and she was saying she ran into the whole Portugal team, and she's like, the Portugal team, and Ronaldo and all of them were complimenting me on your work. I was like, oh great, because they thought that, what did she say, that she was 40 or 42, and she's beyond 50. So that stuff, that she had that experience where the FIFA players were all around and they talked to them for a couple of hours, and she had that experience, and she's glowing. Like, that to me, that does it. That's, to me, is success.
I love it. I mean, vanity's real. We're all on the narcissist spectrum in a healthy way. I know people don't want to talk about it, but it's a part of the puzzle, and I think it's something that it's okay to want to look and be a certain way. You just have to have the whole human approach, the inside matching the outside, and addressing it. Is there anything big that we should know about that's coming up for you guys, or anything that anyone should know? Specials, events, anything along those lines? Books?
No, we really just kind of do a lot of the same. I participate in certain lectures. That's more for surgeons, where we're teaching how to do things the right way. I'm really big on doing things the right way. I do a lot of posts that aren't marketing posts. I try to educate patients. In fact, one patient came here, 45 minutes of conversation. She didn't like the price point, even though we disclose it. And her issue as well, I already know everything from his videos, so he didn't tell me anything extra. Wow, great. I mean, I have so many educational videos that you learned everything already. That's phenomenal. But each patient is their own, and you have to learn how to apply all that information. So you can listen to things all you want, but you have to learn how to apply them. So we kind of do the same thing. We run our practice in a very standard way. I try to keep it very candid, very open. And again, education is at the core. Sometimes people think that I talk too much about it, but I'd rather have my patients be informed and know what we're doing, rather than just, again, take that marketing approach, which probably would be easier, but less satisfying.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Transparency, play the long game always. I'm a consultant and some people, businesses don't want to hear that, but do it right, play the long game, and your humans will come through. Every person that's satisfied will be one of your ambassadors and it'll pay tenfold down the road. So it works all the ways. But like I said, go check out what Dr. Ruslan has going on and Z-Face Plastic Surgery. I love that you guys are disrupting the game. I love that you're an ambassador and truth teller for what you do. You're not afraid to get on the mic and talk about the hard things. So go check him out. I want to give oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say one thing, and it's interesting. I think it doubles with the sports is never take the shortcut.
Yeah.
Shortcuts in sports and training, if you don't warm up, you're going to get injured. If you try to, again, it's shortcuts in anything. You're going to end up, there's things like you're going to pay twice or it's going to set you back twice. In our game, these shortcuts, like you're saying, what things are coming up, coming out. People think that our technology and our advancements are so great that now we can do things in a better way. If something sounds too good to be true, it really might be. It's still all surgery. We have better techniques, but I always talk about, for example, these little mini quick lifts. We're not at a point where we know how to do a quick mini lift in a proper way. I don't think there will be, because if you break down the education of what it takes to lift a face, the deep plane lift, which people say, oh, I don't need the deep plane lift because I don't need as much lift. But hold on, it's not about that you need more lift. It's about that it's a better technique that frees up that magical mass layer. It frees it up in the deep plane, which allows us to move it easily in a more natural way. So you're going to get a more natural result rather than a quick pull where things pull back and you see all these classic issues. So I really love to deliver that message to people, because I see way too many coming in with pinned ears that are pixie, wide scars, a lot of these classic signs of quick lifts, and all because they tried to take a shortcut either with that or with some magical device that then melted the fat underneath their skin, created indentations, led to nerve damage. And then we're working on fixing it. So you got to be really careful with these things.
Oh, man. Thank you for saying that. Yes, we didn't even touch on this. Maybe we'll have you back on, but talking about going overseas. I mean, I've had tons of stuff around human optimization, stem cells, and all these things that, aren't necessarily federally approved in America, but the plastic surgery and stuff, going to Mexico, going overseas, I've actually had friends that have had great results or they're happy with them, but that's a whole other podcast that to your point, I think if it's cheaper, quicker, somewhere else that we don't know, think twice, man, before you make any big choices.
For sure.
That's crazy. All right. Well, like I said, maybe we'll have to come back on because there's so much to go within this, but I think we've scraped the surface open enough just for people to advocate for themselves and ask bigger questions before they make big decisions. I do want to give a special thank you to our sponsors, Colorado Clownfish Swim School, swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports, so go waterproof your family today. Our very favorite, Plantiva, delivering products you can trust and results you can feel. They are rooted in science, but they work like magic. Go check them out at plantiva.com. Dr. Russlan, I think you're awesome. Thank you for sharing your intel. I know we had so much more we could have got into, but hit us with details, handles, websites. Where can we find you?
Sure. So our handle is DRZFace. That's on TikTok, Instagram. We have a few other platforms. Our website is actually getting revamped. I'm going to have a whole bunch of new information on there, new pictures, new videos that we're working on. And again, everything is geared toward giving patients information. It's not so that you come here. It's more that you get just very candid information.
I love it. I love it. Go check him out. And I love that you guys are on the trend-setting tip digitally as well, because I think that's a huge communication point. So keep crushing there. This podcast will be wherever you get your podcast. The video will be on YouTube. Take care of yourself and each other, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.